Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Let's start off with Blackrock's holdings in companies like NIO, Xpeng and Li Auto. First of all, we got from the most recent filings that Blackrock increased its position in NIO by 3.91%. Now overall their value changed by minus 7.61%, but that's because of the big drop in NIO share price. Now when we compare this to Li Auto, where Li Auto has also seen an increase of 6.86%, which is an amazing number, guys, and they saw a value change over 30.48%, which means that their value in Li Auto stock has increased by 30.48%. Now next up we got Xpeng, and BlackRock decreased their shares number in the company of Xpeng by 2.13%. But overall, they still have an increase of 38.6%. So we can conclude from all of this that BlackRock is really invested in Chinese companies, especially Li Auto, Xpeng, and NIO. So from these most recent filings, we can conclude that BlackRock is still trusting the Chinese companies. They are still heavily invested in Chinese companies, and it doesn't even matter that they decreased their share position in Xpeng, because they formerly also decreased their position in NIO and Li Auto. These things happen. But we can see that because they increased in Li Auto and Li Auto, this is a great sign that they still have the trust in China, the Chinese communication with the US, and especially when we got to consider the fact that Brian Dees, that works for Joe Biden, works for the Economic Council of the US, is heavily invested in Chinese companies because he is a big part of BlackRock. So we know that the US and China need each other. Let me tell you this. The moment you see BlackRock selling Chinese stocks, Chinese shares in general, like heavily, that's the moment you know there's going to be breaking out something even worse than we've got right now. Because when BlackRock sells, the whole world will be selling. And BlackRock knows news that we will be never knowing before they know. So the first people we go to see if something bad is going to happen with the China and the US relations, especially concerning the stock market, it's BlackRock. And as of now, there are only good signs for the future to come. In other news, we got news from Hefei, where NIO has presumably launched its development of the sub-brand that they will be having. Most probably the brand will be called Alpes, as we already know. The brand will have a capacity of 60,000 cars a year, which is a great starting number considering the fact that when NIO was just a baby company a couple years ago, they couldn't even put out 10,000 cars a year. So this is just an amazing feat for the new company coming out in China. In other news, we got Citi Securities that believe that NIO, Xpeng and Li Auto are severely undervalued. Citi Securities believes that NIO, Xpeng and Li Auto are in an accelerated phase right now of improving profitability and are expected to approach the break-even point in the coming year. So in 2022, we're gonna see the break-even point of NIO. I'm assuming it's going to be happening in the first quarter for NIO for sure, because they will have an output of at least 30,000 cars by what we know from January. January will be the worst month for NIO for the whole year, guys. They had around 9,600 cars, was it? Believe me, in February we're going to have at least 10 to 11k. March we're going to have at least 11k. A minimum of 30k a quarter is coming up for sure. So the guys at Citi Securities said specifically, in the context of tightening liquidity, the price to sale valuation system is being questioned. We are proposing a comparable valuation of car companies using a market cap divided by gross profit valuation approach, and believe that all the three are currently at very attractive valuations. We believe that all three of these new car makers are currently in the middle stage of development, and it is commercially logical for the necessary investments to result in strategic losses. So as we all know, all of the companies that we are talking about right now have been making losses, but they are very close to that break-even point to finally have profitability, guys. This will be a very big point, guys, because let's remember Tesla. Back in the day when Tesla was unprofitable, it was down low, but just the moment they hit profitability, the whole game changed for Tesla. That was really a very big factor in Tesla's growth. So they're saying as a result of their increased scale effect in manufacturing, the three companies' combined gross margins reached 20.3%, 23.3% and 14.6% respectively in the third quarter of 2021, an improvement of 7.4, 3.5 and 10 percentage points compared to the third quarter of 2020 according to the team of Citi Securities. In contrast, NIO, Li Auto and Xpeng share price in the US fell 60.7%, 9% and 23.8% respectively. Last year significantly underperforming the Nasdaq's 1.3% gain due to the systematic correction of Chinese companies listed abroad. Just as I mentioned guys, as seen in Tesla's sales expansion journey over the past 10 years, car-making newcomers tend to see losses widen before entering a phase of accelerating earnings improvement and finally breaking through the break-even point when quarterly sales reach 70,000 units. At quarterly sales of 30 to 50,000 units, new car makers tend to be in a state of low sales and high expenses, mainly because they need to invest more in all aspects of plant, equipment, and personnel before launching hot products. And to improve the company's product performance and long-term competitiveness, they also have to invest heavily in research and development, especially for autonomous driving and smart cockpits, as well as invest in channel construction according to Citi Securities. We believe that all three of these new car makers are currently in the middle stage of development, and it is commercially logical for the necessary investments that result in strategic losses. Using Tesla's break-even data as a reference and taking into account the financial data of these three new car makers, we believe that they are expected to rapidly approach the break-even point in the coming year. So as I said guys, even in former videos, the break-even point is almost there. The article says they need 50 to 70,000 cars per quarter to reach break-even point. I don't believe that. I really believe once they hit around 35 to 40,000 for this quarter, it's very possible, very likely that we're going to hit that break-even point. Like right now they had around 9,600 cars. February, let's assume 11,000. March, let's assume 11,000. How much do we have then right now, guys? 32, 33,000. It's very possible. It's just right there, edging up to that break-even point, as the margins are also increasing, guys. Some other good stuff is that NIO Capital has invested in an electromechanic technology developer last year, perhaps paving the way for the introduction of this technology. So what is this technology exactly? It's a color-changing glass roof, and it's seen as a new, intriguing new technology in the electric vehicle industry, and NIO will most probably use it in its future models, or else they wouldn't have invested in the company. Some other good stuff is that JPMorgan increased their position in NIO while cutting their position in Xpeng and Li Auto. This just seems, guys, it's a continuing thing that's going on right now. Blackrock bought more, JPMorgan bought more. It just shows us, guys, that NIO is right now cheap, too cheap, very undervalued, guys. I mean, I was amazed at how low it sank, guys. It was impossible to go that low, and yet it went that low. So right now Blackrock and JPMorgan are building their shares up because it's going to be booming up once they hit that break-even point. As of December 31st, JPMorgan held 7.64 million ADRs in NIO, worth about 240 million according to the bank's 13F filing with the SEC. JPMorgan Chase's holdings in NIO increased by about 6 million shares, or 378%, compared with about 1.6 million shares at the end of the third quarter last year. So JPMorgan bought 6 million more shares, guys. That's an increase of 378%. Let's take into account that Blackrock bought shares, JPMorgan bought shares, Citi Securities for sure bought shares. I'm just telling you guys, it's going to be booming. NIO share price will be booming, right? Not today, maybe not tomorrow, but the day will come that NIO share price will hit at least $100. It's just coming, guys. When big guys like BlackRock, JPMorgan start investing in NIO, just believe the day will come it's going to hit over $100. But let's not only look at JPMorgan buying NIO, let's also look at them selling Xpeng and Li Auto. So JPMorgan reduced its position in Xpeng by about 25% in the fourth quarter, from 2.58 million shares at the end of the third quarter to 1.94 million shares at the end of last year. JPMorgan Chase also reduced its holding in Li Auto by 13.5% in the fourth quarter, from about 2.3 million shares to 1.98 million shares. So guys, this is a lot of news, guys, that we gotta process right now. JPMorgan and BlackRock are buying into NIO. Both of them sold Xpeng. NIO's car sales are going up. January was supposedly going to be one of the worst months of the year for each car manufacturer. They are doing very well, guys. And in the coming months, the rest of the year, guys, expect to have at least 10K and up to 15 to 16K by the end of the year, guys, because it's going to be happening very soon that NIO is going to break profitability, break the break-even point, and the share price is just going to follow suit. But I want to stress just one very important point, guys, is that which company it is, NIO, Li Auto, Xpeng, Alibaba, doesn't matter, guys. There is one very big obstacle that all those Chinese companies have. It's the negative news narrative that's being spewed out by the US media right now, because their relations between the US and China are trying to be resolved. But it's not only that right now, it's also the tensions between Russia and Ukraine, and still all the variants going around the world, because China is the future, guys. They are right now the second place right after US in economic activity, in GDP, in everything that they are doing, guys. They are increasing heavily. So the future is in the hands of China, and we're gonna have to follow suit. The US can't keep up right now by just putting out fake news articles and trying to get the share price even lower, because the day will come that those companies that are ruling the US, JPMorgan, Blackrock, and whatever it is, guys, they are right now heavily investing in those Chinese companies. And the day will come that they will change the news narrative, so those share prices will go back up. And hey, they will be selling up there. But most importantly is that we are going to be selling with them when the share price hits 150, 200, 300. So guys, hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Ciao, ciao.